That was an awesome interview with Dolph Drews. I think you would all agree. He gave some awesome tidbits in regards to commercial real estate, what they can do to leverage everything we've been talking about. And now what I've done is we're going to be talking to Robert G. Allen after, but I want to introduce Gerry Fernandez and Danny Carrillo. Gerry is, and I've worked with both these gentlemen for several years. I don't even want to date us, but I think over 24 years or when we first got in the business. So Jerry's the Senior Vice President of Retail at Accelerate Capital. He's got 24 years in the industry. He's an industry veteran. So I guess I'm an industry veteran because I think we started at the same time. He has extensive experience in building mortgage platforms and is the former president of NARREP in Orange County. And we have Danny Carrillo. Danny, I wasn't even aware that you were still with, I mean, I knew you were still around, but I didn't know that we were under the same label. So Danny Carrillo is still originating millions. I've taken a little bit of a hiatus, but Danny's originating millions a month still and is running a successful mortgage branch. So I thought it'd be really great if we brought him in as well. So then that way we can get some insight from both these gentlemen in regards to what's going on with the market. And Danny, also I want to touch on, we eventually will touch on what, because since we've been through an economic downturn, what people can do as real estate agents, loan officers, people in our sector, what they can do to be successful and what opportunities this type of a downturn brings. So Gerry, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Danny. So just so everybody kind of knows, how did you get, I always say people in the mortgage business are a little touched. I think you'll agree. So what, definitely, right? Give us some of your background and how you got into this crazy business.
Well, it's good to be here with you. Thanks for having me. I did get into this business a little bit over 24 years ago. I think it's more like 26 or 27 now.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, and totally by accident. My brother-in-law used to own a mortgage banking company. I was not working in mortgage, and he kept on telling me that I should, because it was my brother-in-law. You know, I didn't really want to listen to him. He tricked me one day, and he asked me to join him for lunch. Because he's such a big spender. We went to Del Taco. And when I got there, there was another young guy about my age, Troy Johnson, that's also in the mortgage business still. And I was kind of confused as to why he was there. This is when 125 loans were around, the second mortgages. And my brother-in-law basically told me that Troy, that they had met at Nordstrom. Troy had helped him at Nordstrom, and he was impressed with Troy. And so he asked Troy to join his company. And Troy brought along a couple of his paychecks. Nordstrom. Troy had helped him at Nordstrom, and he was impressed with Troy. And so he asked Troy to join his company. And it was a quick transition after that to join this wonderful industry.
Exactly. That's what happened. And then Danny, what about you? How did you get into this crazy business? I don't even know your story. We've all been out together.
Pretty much same. It was crazy story by mistake, I guess. I was in the communication business. I was selling phone systems. Then one of my friends was like, "Hey, this company is moving from Chicago to LA. They're paying a lot of money in long distance." Voice over IP wasn't existed back then, right? So here I come to the conference room, try to sell my product, voice over IP, 2002, I believe. And 3 owners, brothers, they said, "Hey, why don't you get into the industry?" I'm like, "I don't know nothing about finance. Come to Chicago, we'll train you." So 2 weeks after, I never left the industry, came back, closed my shop, and I'm like, let's do loans.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can have a similar story. I don't know if Gerry knows the story. I was selling phone service door to door, and Gerry and I were at the same company. Daniel, I don't remember if I know you. We worked at NAF together, but Gerry and I were the first company that I remember right back when I started. And so I was selling phone service door to door. Barrington Capital was at Sky Park Circle. Remember that? Were you with us yet, Gerry?
No, I joined afterwards, right after.
You joined, yeah, I was there first, right? So I think you and I, we follow each other. We'll talk about that. So I'm selling phone service door to door. Rick Russell was the only guy he was one of the owners of that company. And he was the only guy that would take one of my appointments. So finally I go back because I'm just like, nobody will take my appointments. And I'm sitting across from him at the conference room. And I said, "I can't save you any money, but would you switch over anyway?" And he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm just trying to make some money." I was like 4 months pregnant. You couldn't tell I was so skinny. And he goes, "Why don't you come work for me?" And I said, "Well, what do you do?" And he goes, "I do real estate." And before he said loans, I just stopped him, as I always do. As I'm trying to be a good interview, I'm learning not to interrupt people, but then I wasn't. So I go, "Oh, I know real estate. I can sell real estate." He goes, No. I do the loans." And I said, "Oh," same thing like you, Danny. He goes, "What's wrong?" I go, "Oh, I suck in math." And he says, No. formulas. And then he always said, oh yeah, you put a decimal point, a dollar sign, all of a sudden I become like Einstein, right? Because when it comes to my commissions, but that's how I started. So he gave me $2,000 a month, I think it was, to teach me how to do data entry. And then I started going out in the field and trying to get real estate agents to use me just the old school way. So that's how I started. And then Gerry and I, full disclaimer, we started at Barrington Capital right around the same time. And then we had all moved over to, I think, 5,000 Birch, right? Shortly after.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah. So that's how we got in that. And so both of you we're gonna just a brief, because we've been to a lot of different mortgage companies, not a lot. I've pretty much stayed with maybe 2 or 3 in my entire career. But now we all ended up the same place. Just briefly, I'll start with you, Gerry. Why Accelerate?
Well, I think it was a combination of things. Number one, I love that ownership was there. It was a big enough company that had all the war chest and all the products that were needed. It was yet small enough that still make it high customer service centric. Was one of the reasons. Really got along with ownership, because I met with them for well over a year before actually making the transition. Number two, there's a lot of great mortgage companies out there, and after 07 and 08, everybody was kind of pretty much doing the same thing, right? You had Fannie, Freddie, Jenny, maybe a couple jumbo products, and yeah, maybe one had a better rate than another one, or was paying a few basis points more than the other one, but it all sounded the same. With Accelerate, and I think we're going to talk about this maybe later on.
Yeah.
They're the leaders in non-QM, and that whole program product offering, the fact that it's proprietary products, how they're able to execute, et cetera, really made it a very clear and easy decision.
And we've been a lot of places. You've seen a lot of stuff, and you've helped build I've helped build it, but you've created platforms and whatnot. So I think you're able to recognize that right away, and that's smart.
It was great. It just it was right place, right time. Like timing I think is everything.
A lot of it.
And it just worked out. It was kind of a seamless transition.
That's awesome. And what about you, Danny?
Pretty much the non-QM is been huge. It's been a big factor in my business. Ever since I'm in the umbrella from Accelerate, I think 60% of our business became a non-QM. So
really?
I would imagine without being non-QM, where would I be now, right? Especially when the rates are out. So we literally started changing our model of targeting different market. Because if we would have stayed with FHA, VA conventional, like we all know, it would have been pretty tough. So kudos to Accelerate for allowing us to be able to fund those loans in-house, and a lot of the programs that we have has made our business keep going,
And a lot of what I've been talking about, that's why I have all the speakers speaking, right? That telling people, and we're gonna right now, the next question, we're all gonna talk about what happened to all of us in 2008 and how we navigated through that. But right now, we saw this in our careers, right? It was a sale back then. So if you had positioned yourself back then in the right way, you were able to pick up stuff, and that has been able to create passive income and generational wealth, right? So that's what we're talking about. So the non-QM products that you both are talking about, which is the reason why I came to Accelerate, really sets us apart and helps me be able to have those product offerings to the consumer, to help them create that generational wealth and make these investments, right? Where we didn't have that, there was a big hole. So we'll get into that later, but I just wanted to kind of understand that. So let's talk about 2008, boys. Wasn't that fun? So for those of you who are watching who haven't been through an economic downturn, we're going to talk about that a little bit. And those of you who have, we're going to go through a little trip about down memory lane, right? Those were painful times. So back in 2008, I think we can all contest to that, right? Let's start with you, Danny. How many of those 100% financing 620 middle scores to $1 million were you writing back then? Remember those products?
Probably 98%.
Sign here, press hard. I called it.
Yeah, I've been a purchase guide pretty much entire long career, and yeah, it was incredible how you're getting loans at 600, 700,000 with 80/20s. It was just crazy.
Right. I mean, I remember people that were gardeners and housekeepers, or people that that because they didn't show the cash on their tax returns, right? But they clearly didn't make the money that you were stating on those applications back then. I mean, clearly. So I think that was part of the debacle. What about you, Gerry? Remember the good old days?
I remember the good old days. I actually never did a lot of non-QM. I mean, a lot of subprime lending. I did a few, don't get me wrong, but I never dedicated myself to
That
it.
wasn't even remember there was like, I think, I forgot which investor that was. That was on our rate sheet at Barrington. That wasn't even subprime.
Well, 80/20s were definitely subprime. But through Barrington, we did a lot, and that was my first exposure into the Alt-A market, right?
Yeah, Alt-A, yes, that's what I mean. Yeah, so it was more Alt-A.
Remember back then with Aurora loan servicing,
Aurora, yes,
all those
Aurora.
kind of products. So that's something what I did when the crash first happened. Obviously, subprime was the first to go, and I'll remember talking to people that the owner of the company I was working with, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, Alt-A is fine." And less than a week later, it was gone from one day to another, right? So yeah, it was definitely not a fun time to be in the industry. I'll vividly remember the phone ringing, picking it up, clients wanting to refinance or purchase, but that product mix was no longer there. And I'd spent the last 6-7 years of that focusing on the Alt-A market, and just seeing like, God, like I could have earned that much. I could have earned that much. I could have earned that much by helping those clients. And I say it that way because, 2009, I mean, married with 3 little kids and everything else, it was very disruptive.
It was.
So it was definitely a challenging time.
Do you remember when it got like even crazier? Because everybody was like, "Oh, once you lock, right, you're safe." No, I had people locked in, and then the investors would be like, "You have this little back then faxes come over. We are discontinuing this product starting now."
Yeah.
You're like, I keep and you guys have but how did people will? I mean, loan officers were evil. It was the loan officers were the evil people, right? We're the ones that caused all that stuff. So that didn't help our reputations. I think we're even to this day, that stigma has followed loan officers for a long, long time because they were the scary people that created this, right? And then when we're trying to explain stuff, like when the market moves, there's a whole system to locking in a loan. You have to have at least their credit score, you guys. You have to have run credit. So, you tell somebody something, and in the middle of you trying to lock them in, they're having a price change, they lock you out. You got to call that client, or the conversations we had to have with people that we were closing in 5 days, or we just had locked them in, and then the whole program or bank went out of business. So now we've got to lock them in on another rate. I mean, those were crazy times. I
remember the website Implodometer?
No, remind me.
There was a website in Implodometer, which was, it basically told you what companies were shutting down on a daily basis.
Uh-uh.
It was, I mean, it was a little, you got a little addicted to watching it, unfortunately, but it's very sad. But not only were small and medium-sized companies at that point in time, many of them not being able to put it together and had to shut down. But to your point, I mean, I remember big institutions where we were doing, neg-ams with, or whatever, big banks where you had loans at docks. And people are gonna move into their home that weekend, and all of a sudden they're like, effective immediately, we're shutting down, right? And not honoring the pipeline and everything else. So yeah, I remember those times very, very well.
I mean, I still have a little PTSD. I don't know about you. I'm getting over it. I think they should have offered us all therapy, right? Seriously, talk about war times. Because think about that, guys. I mean, people are extremely emotional. I've learned to control myself. When they first met me, I was even more emotional than I am now. I'm excited now, not as much emotion. But people's houses, right? Their bank accounts, that kind of stuff. They say the top stressful things, right, is death, divorce, and moving. So we are navigating as loan officers, not just like there's so many guidelines and you're going through all the guideline changes. Do you remember how many guideline changes we had? I think there was like 340. Imagine you're a doctor and you have the human body, and you've done it a certain way all these years, and this, like this means that. So we had a roadmap. We knew as professionals where to put somebody or whatnot. Then all of a sudden, everything is changing by the second. Another email. So you're trying to answer the phone. You're trying to put all these emotions at bay, right? And then you're also trying to keep up with the guideline changes. And so there's a lot that goes into being a loan officer, and that's why I say we're all a little touched. And to a testament to all of us here, the fact that we're still here is a huge testament, right? And I think that the people that went through that and are still here and were able to come out of it and succeed are the ones that I talked about earlier, the ones that have grit, right? the ones that get knocked down and they come back up. So I'm going to ask you guys another couple of questions. Let's just, before we go, all right, I'll start with you and just give a brief answer, Danny, and then, or you both can kind of comment on this. What I wanted people to understand is that the difference between now and 2008, because everyone's saying, oh, is this a repeat of 2008? I think, and then the experts are saying, yes, there will be a sale. We are in a recession. There's an economic downturn. We're going to have a little bit of a winter. Rates have gone way up, right? But the difference between now and 2008, and I think you'll agree, are the stops that were put into place. We didn't have those crazy loan programs that people were buying before, right? And I also think that the values right now, the national, this was just as of a few days ago, the national average is that people that own homes have an equity of about 58%. Whereas in 2008, it was 19%. So do you both agree? Do you see, what do you see? Do you see this as, what do you see similarities to 2008? And what are the things that you want to tell people that it's not like 2008? Danny, we'll start with you.
Well, definitely it's not like 2008, 2007. Why? Because again, you were getting 100% financing before. Right now, you're not getting 100% financing. You have income verification now. So you're not getting a loan unless we verify and prove that you are able to or capable to be able to pay us back, right? Versus 2008, that was none of that. You get a pulse, you get a loan. So it's totally different.
Yeah, you have a pulse. You breathe the mirror, you fog up the mirror. Like, there you go.
Yeah, that's it. So that is going to be a big difference. Now, the other part is that everybody nowadays is licensed. We were not licensed back in 2007, 2006 because we were not required by the government. Now we are. Right.
And
so,
that I want to make sure people understand what that's called. It's called NMLS. None of us were licensed prior to 2008. After that, we all had to get National Mortgage Listing Service, is it? NMLS. And so now we all have a NMLS number, and every loan we do has our number attached to it. So the first thing they do when somebody defaults is they go straight back into that loan application and hold the loan officer responsible if they, in fact, aided in any of that. So go on, Danny.
Yeah. So now, of course, anybody wants to do something funny now, it's gonna be, they're gonna get you.
Think you're a funny guy?
Sooner
Yeah.
or later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're gonna get caught speeding. What do you think, Gerry?
Well, I mean, above and beyond what you guys were talking about, the products it's a totally different reason of why, and I'm far from an economist, right? But what happened in 08, it was a perfect storm of many different things. Right now, we're definitely entering, housing's already been in a recession. Obviously, the rest of the economy, whenever they determine it's going to be in a recession, hopefully a mild one. But a couple things, as far as our, is pricing going to collapse or is values going to collapse? I think there's certain markets that could potentially see a very small correction. Some other ones are going to have a little bit bigger correction, but there's something called supply and demand. And right now there's still an overwhelming amount of demand and there's not a lot of supply. So
I was at broker preview this week. There was, I was trying to, yeah, you're right. There was like one on preview, the other meeting, there was two. So go on.
Yeah, I think there's definitely people that are hesitant, right? There's a shock to the system when a year ago rates were in the 3s, and all of a sudden 2 months ago the rates were in the 7s. Obviously rates are starting to trickle down now, which is great. I think as people kind of digest that, and as they see in their particular markets values holding or have a small correction and kind of normalize, and hopefully we continue to see the interest rate environment dropping in the first quarter, second quarter of next year. Again, there's a massive amount of demand and not enough supply. So I think you're going to see a lot of people jump back into the market very, very quickly. That's why you hear a lot of real estate professionals and loan officers encouraging their buyers that they're pre-approved to go out and purchase now, because right now you can actually get a deal. You can actually get the seller to pay for some of your closing costs. Right now you're not competing against X amount of other buyers. And yes, a year ago we were at 3%, but people were going in to buy a $500,000 house as an example, and they ended up paying $560,000, $570,000, right?
Right.
Extra cash, where that's kind of turned. So I think it's very different. I think we'll have some correction in certain pockets, but overall the market's resilient. There's a lot of people that want to buy homes. It's the American dream, and that's not going to stop. And I think it'll get stronger as 2023 starts and continues.
Right. And I don't know if you caught the other interviews. And again, Ashley, go ahead and put in the chat how they can obtain those, because there's incredible information. But the experts I've been talking to have been talking about leveraging, right? Taking advantage of the opportunities that come. And that's why they're encouraging people, if you can qualify, right? If you've got investments, pull some of the cash from your investments, whether that be real estate or in other areas. So that way you can take advantage of the deals that you're going to be seeing in the near future. And there's also saying that interest rate, when you're talking about, when you're looking at the overall, they're telling people to think more macro, right? So when you're looking at the overall ROI, the interest rate is just one number that you're inputting into that whole thing. As long as the ROI is still and the numbers look pretty, then you shouldn't be afraid of that, really. So that's what we're trying to, kind of explain to people. All right. So we're going to go and we're going to talk a little bit, drill down a little bit more about recessions. And this is a two-part question. Okay. So Gerry, we'll start with you. Do you feel recessions of this nature bring unique opportunities? And I'm going to start with, we're going to talk about for loan officers and real estate agents. Okay. But then we're going to go in and then we'll talk about investments, like as far as a recession, as far as investments that we've seen in our careers, right? So what habits, behaviors, rituals, routines, and systems do you recommend, right, for salespeople right now? We've been through this. What did you do, Gerry? And what is your advice to people right now for loan officers? We're talking about loan officers, real estate agents, and people in the, in our same mortgage sector. What type of unique opportunities a recession can bring?
Well, I think it's a time where you can separate, right? There's a lot of people that, because of the atmosphere, because of the media, meaning, the news being negative, most people will lose focus. Most people will start looking, should I stop doing loans? Should I go into selling cars or solar or whatever it might be? And maybe that's something they should do, right? Some of the people. There's going to be a lot of other loan officers that just kind of sit in the sidelines and not to be rude, but they start feeling sorry for themselves. So right now it's separation season. It's when you got to double down. If you love the industry, if you love helping people, if you love what you do, which is the only reason you should be in the mortgage business, is when you need to, sharpen your craft. When you gotta, Danny and I talk all the time. If you had a 10 or 15 or 20 referral partners, now you got to go get 40, 60, 80, right?
Right.
You need to make more contacts. You got to more phone calls, more face-to-face appointments, whatever it takes to generate business. There's still a lot of business out there. It's not like there's no business. Is it less than what it was in 2021? The number, the greatest
units
finance boom in the history? Of course there is. But is there still $2.2 trillion of mortgages being funded this year? Yes. Is it going to be 1.7 less, more next year? I don't know. But if you work hard and you get enough of those, you're gonna thrive in this market anyways.
That's awesome. Danny, now you're still originating. Where's your branch at?
Whittier, California.
Okay. So you're going to probably be able to really ask this question. So what habits, behaviors, rituals, routines, and systems do you recommend right now? And what type of, like in this economic downturn, like back in 2008, what kind of opportunities? Let's frame it in a more positive light. What opportunities does this bring?
I think we need to go back to basics, right? Because 2008, we were order takers, just like what we were in COVID season 2 years ago. Order takers were, how hard was to sell at 3% rate, right? So now it has become where we need to really know our product. We need to educate our consumer. Just to piggyback on what Gerry said, we need to educate him in a way you're going to pay less with a higher rate, and it's going to be the same payment at the end. So it's a lot of education for the consumer. We need to make sure that we show them options, and don't forget to go back to the basics where building the relationship with the real estate partners, right? Because before we didn't need to do that. The business was just coming our way, and now we need to nurture those and build those relationships and help them. Show them how we can bring value to their business instead of just asking for the business like a lot of the loan officers do, right? I think I've been big on always bring value to the agent to show them how I can help you grow instead of just saying, can you give me a referral or your next deal or your next opportunity? There's thousands of agents or lenders out there just saying the same thing, but why not bring product systems, put lunch and learns together with them to be able to grow together as a business partner.
That's always the way I approach my business, always to bring something of value. Even this, this show, what I'm doing right now, it's trying to bring value. I'm going to continue to interview high-level executives and entrepreneurs and people in the industry and put that out every month so I can bring value to, not only my clients, just people in general, all around, and agents and real estate agents. So it's bringing value. I think you want to be that expert that everybody goes to, right? Like you want to be out there because you want people to be like, oh, call Gerry, he'll know, right? Call Danny, he'll know. Oh, Tamara knows, she's always talking to people. Ask her if she knows anybody. You want to kind of be that go-to person that people are, you want to create value, right? So that people that you're at top of mind and they're thinking of you. There's going to be a lot fewer deals like Gerry mentioned. Anything you want to interject, Gerry? Were you going to say something?
I was just thinking because you were mentioning Rick Russell, Jim Wayne, and Barrington Capital, right? I mean, I remember being in those sales meetings, right, with Glenn Hughes there. And what was Rick and Jim talking about, guys? And I think we were in a refi market, meaning I remember refinancing people into 8.25, 30-year fixes.
Right.
That they were at 10% or whatever.
They're all happy.
But what was the advice that Rick and Jim and Glenn would tell all of us? This refi boom will stop eventually. Yes. You better go get referral partners, right? Whether it's real estate professionals, whether it's attorneys, whether it's CPAs. So it's the same message, right? It's just we've been in an unprecedented downturn of meaning historically low interest rates. And to Danny's points, at some point in time in the last few years, you didn't really have to go visit a lot of realtors because things were just kind of landing on your plate. So yeah, is it harder today than it was 2 years ago? 100%. Is the market today presenting certain challenges? Yes. But now you become a Danny Carrillo, you become a professional, you become someone that knows the business and you work hard. The one thing we talk a lot here is the average loan officer does not work 40 hours a week, let alone 50 or 60, right? So now they got to go work. They got to go work full-time jobs, right? Like meaning work their mortgage career as a full-time job. And the people that are doing that are having phenomenal results. And that's why it's so great that Danny's here, right? You have someone like that has a very successful branch, but yet he's leading from the front. He's in more lunch and learns. He's doing more realtor presentations. He's doing everything that it takes to get in front of people, right, who are actually doing business. And as a result, his production continues to increase. He's leading from the front. Therefore, his loan officers, or a portion of them, are following his example and are having success.
And I think you're right. And another thing to your point that I think we all made that point, that the reason why I was able to sustain was I always, and at Barrington, because when I first started, I told you, Rick Russell hired me and I don't even think I had a car. He sold me his car for me to go out on the weekends and go visit real estate agents. You guys, I had like no money. So I went to like Ralph's and I bought, the styrofoam little coolers. I bought a cooler. Then I bought some like Shasta cola. It was the cheapest cola. And paper bags. And I would literally make bologna sandwiches or whatever I did with like Wonder Bread and put it in a bag. And I'd say, have a great open house, heart mom. And I'd walk into the open houses and I'd be like, oh, your mom wanted me to bring this to you. And that would make them laugh. And that's how I started. So I always went out. I always did stuff like that, marketing and belly to belly, right? That's why I kind of got killed when the new age market came and all the technology kind of drove over me, which I need to get better at. But obviously I'm learning. Look where I'm at right now. So that kind of stuff, And I just think that going after purchase money, guys. And when I was at Barrington Capital, because I always was doing that, and then when the refis had dried up, do you know what Rick and Jim used to have me do? This was the owners of our company. You know how many times they had put people in my car, take them out with you and tell them what you do every day. And I can't even tell you how many people I had with me that I would drive around. And what the crazy thing was, and I coached loan officers. Do you know that 9 out of 10, I would say, tell me, what do you do? And I go, okay, here's what I do. I'd give them my whole playbook. Here it is all. I'm even giving you my forms. Just put your name at the top. And they wouldn't do it. Why do you think that? I mean, you're with loan officers. Why is that? And the same thing goes for real estate agents. Why aren't they doing that?
Was that to Danny or to me?
All right, to Danny. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Well, because they're lazy, especially the new people, right?
Laziness. Yes.
The new people, they think that they're going to go to an open house for 2 months and now they're going to get rich. It doesn't work like that, buddy. You have to work and create those relationships for months. I always tell them a story about an agent, me going after them for about 2.5 years just to get an opportunity. You know, I said, you are giving up in 2 months. Like it took me literally all this time, just like some of the title reps, just to get your business. Some of them, they take 2, 3, 4, 5 years for you to be able to get an opportunity. You know, I think they give up too easy, too fast. And yeah, it's a cleanse time. There's going to be a lot of people getting out of the industry, and I'm happy, right? Because they don't belong. This is not, you didn't get into the business just to make money. It's like, treat it as a career, work 40 hours, and you'll do great if you work hard. But if you think that you're going to make quick money, it's not that anymore.
No, and you're right about not giving up. And to the point I made earlier, grit, tenacity, those things, chutzpah, right? So that's what's really going to get you through. And real estate agents too. Everything that we're talking about, you can apply to your own business too. And so I think that that's really important. You got to actually work. It's not going to fall. It's not going to fall from the sky anymore. So let's go and then to that exact point, do you feel recessions of this nature bring unique opportunities? You answered this, and it's kind of shedding the crowd out, right? So, but as far as investments, what do you guys? I mean, Gerry, during that time, did you pick anything up in 2008, or what did you see happening then? Do you think that because of this, that there will be some opportunities as far as investments are concerned?
You know, the biggest, I'm going to answer it a little bit different.
Good.
The biggest investment that I learned, the biggest lesson that turned out to be the best investment for me is that in, was it 08, I think, for a very, very short period of time, I actually considered getting out of the mortgage business.
Shut up.
Yeah, I had a few friends, I had some people that I knew, acquaintances, I should say, and some friends that, remember back then, they started getting into mortgage modifications.
Yeah.
They opened companies and this whole thing.
Yeah, and
right?
everybody started doing that. You're right.
It's such a confusing time, right? So I actually jumped into that field for a very short period of time, and realized what an absolute disaster it was, right? Because it was a moving goalpost. So even if you were doing it right, you couldn't do it right? And then it also forced me to kind of look around and go, well, if I don't go back in mortgages, what am I going to do to feed my family, right? And how much could I earn even in a depressed market in mortgages? Man, what would I have to go do to be able to generate equal kind of money? And so, and there's not a lot, by the way, unless you're a doctor or a lawyer.
And don't forget that thought, but I want people to understand that. Imagine, you guys, whether you're in the industry or not, imagine you have a job and you have a certain amount of money that you're bringing in. This is your expertise. Okay. And now your whole industry has just been wiped out, basically wiped out. I mean, it's a scary time. And I was a single mother. So it was it was really scary. So go on.
I think that was, again, I know you asked about investment, but that was the biggest investment for me in the sense that it made me fall back in love with the industry that I'd been working at for a long period of time. Right. It made me realize what a great industry it was. And again, I was 3 little kids, brand new mortgage, wife, et cetera. Yeah. But it just made me focus. So what I did at that point in time, and I think it's something that we should all do throughout our careers, and I think it matters more today than ever, is I went and started talking to people that were being successful, people that had been in the industry for a long period of time, and got uncomfortable and literally asked people if I could take him to breakfast or coffee or lunch. Mentors. Or correct. And just be like, what do I do? Like, here was my business. I'll take business on. What would you do if you were in my shoes? And, some people gave you time of day and some people were kind of dismissive, but I was fortunate enough to connect with a few of them or a couple of them that really took interest into helping me change my mindset, design a game plan. And then it was up to me to execute that. So the same in today's industry, right? I was talking to one of the owners of our company yesterday, and he made such an important point. And he was, I'm not going to quote exactly everything he said, but the studies of, decade-long studies that bring the expression true. You, at the end of the day, you end up being who you hang out with.
Yes, we've said this. It's a common theme. Yes.
Right. So in today's world, are you hanging out with Danny Carrillos and Tamaras that are building things, that are getting after it? Or are you in the coffee shop or at the bar hanging out with every loan officer that's depressed, thinking like the world's coming to an end? Well, if you're that, your world is going to come, your financial world's going to come to an end. But if you're working with Danny Carrillo and the guy's working 6 days a week and working 10, 11, 12-hour days, and you're seeing success, my thought is going to change. My actions are going to change. Therefore, I'm either going to choose to do it more like he does, which is going to leave me better results, or I'm going to go the other way, right? So I think in today's environment, more than ever, hanging out with people that are like-minded, that have the same goals, listening to the right podcasts, reading the right books, et cetera, it's always important, but it's more important than ever before.
Right. Yeah. We'll get into mindset a little bit right before we end. But and what about you, Danny? Are you seeing like in this type of a downturn? We already clarified it's not like 2008, but do you see opportunities that you think that this recession will bring as far as in regards to investments?
Not FTX.
Not FTX.
Yeah, I mean, what they said that the majority of people that make money it's in these times, right? Where they see opportunities that not a lot of people see. And I mean, we go back to the people that you're hanging out with, they're gonna bring you those opportunities, or they're gonna tell you about, right? Because again, you wouldn't know unless Gerry tells me, hey, you know what, there's this opportunity, let's go after it. Whether it's maybe a program that we can bring in, or maybe an investment that we can join ventures on. And I think it's really, really important just to get and grasp who you're hanging out with, because that's just a totally game changer.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, so I don't think that you guys got to watch what we had, so I'm going to recap a little bit. But the experts are saying, right, because they're talking about the different opportunities that are coming as far as with real estate. We had Dan Young, it was great, you guys. A lot of these people talked about we're in a buy right now, so there are different opportunities to leverage. So to take advantage of opportunities, Rob Gill gave us, who was my first speaker yesterday, gave us some strategy on where to put your money to fund these investments, right? So we're talking about leveraging. So he had suggested putting a living life policy to overfund that. And then you get between the dividends and interest, it's about a 6% return, more or less, it can be a little bit higher. Then once you have the money in a savings vehicle like that, when these opportunities come, right? So we're talking about leveraging, liquidating, and pulling cash out possibly. When those opportunities come, you can borrow from yourself at maybe a 3% interest. That's my fault. A 3% interest, and then invest that money elsewhere. And then that's what the difference between the wealthy and the poor. They have systems that they do, and then they keep that money in that investment. And after whatever period of time, it could be 5 years, could be more, they pull that money out, put it back into the investment vehicle, and then rinse and repeat, right? Rinse and repeat. That's how they have built generational wealth. Dolph talked about commercial real estate. Dan Young, to talk about FTX, he, I don't know if you saw, but I had Dan Young on. He is the founder of Ugly Unicorn Crypto Hedge Fund. He has about 600 and some odd millions that he's in charge of. And even him, so I asked him, right? So we're talking cost dollar averages. And what that means, people, is you take all your money that you're going to invest. Let's say it's $1,000 a month. I'm just giving you a round number, right? So how much of that $1,000 would you put in like, stocks? And how much would you put into maybe real estate, gold, silver, hard assets? How much for maybe risk capital? And then I asked him, how much do you put in crypto? And he said 5%. So even the man that does the crypto hedge fund, he doesn't put more. He said 10% if he's had a really great month. So I want to drive that home to people as well. So he gave some really great nuggets. Seriously, you guys should purchase those and watch that, because it was amazing. He talked about stocks in tech. So he talked about watching, because they're going to start. Did you know this? They said that they were going to start Amazon. They already have the ports at all the buildings, because all the stuff is going to be delivered by drone. It's going to get rid of the trucks on the road. They're just waiting for the government to approve that. So if you think forward thinking like that, he was talking about lithium and nickel, like to look at those things. He was thinking forward thinking, like he said, if all the way back, we would have been thinking about, we would have bought a little bit of Microsoft before we even knew about computers, a little bit of Apple, just a little bit, right? Not a lot. Where would it be today? So that's what these type of the people that are talking about this stuff, how they were kind of forward thinking, and then they're sitting on, billions of dollars now. Okay. With that said, and I'll start with you, Gerry, and then Danny, I'll finish it with you. What products or programs does you can also just talk about in general, but what products and programs do you think that Accelerate has that helps facilitate what they've been talking about, helping people leveraging, whether it be investors, first-time home buyers, cash out? What type of programs do you see? And then Danny, we'll have you finish up and then let me know which is the programs that you are seeing mostly are being used right now to help people achieve that. But Gerry?
So going back to what we talked about, right? When you look at regular agency, Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie Mae, we all pretty much have the same offerings with some very small potential guideline or overlay variations. And there's, I think, if people qualify for those programs, that's incredible. And if you can use some equity in your house, if it's the right move to potentially pull some equity to.
If the numbers work, yeah, the numbers have to work.
If the numbers work, if you can afford the payment, et cetera, right? That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're different than most of the companies, like I mentioned, is their offering of non-QM. Right, there's a lot of equity, and there's untapped equity that people have not been able to tap into. There's a lot of opportunity as far as people wanting to buy investment properties, but maybe they don't qualify based on their tax returns. These are people that have good credit scores. These are people that have money for down payments. Their accountant maybe writes off more than they should, or the right amount, or whatever. It's not for me to say anything, but these are people who can afford the mortgage payment, the carry on that investment property. So we have a lot of what's called debt service coverage ratio programs. We have a lot of programs which use alternative income methods, right, to calculate whether they're worthy to purchase a house, whether they can have the ability to repay, whether that's through a bank statement program, whether that's through 1099 program, looking at it in a different light or a different way, whether it's a P&L only program, not to get too confusing for the people who are seeing it, but what it's going to do is going to allow more people the ability to finance a property. Again, whether it's buying their owner occupied, whether it's buying a second home or an investment property. And I think those opportunities, as far as creation of wealth, I think real estate is one of the proven ways that over time will allow you, if you buy correct, if you get cash flow on the properties, that will allow you to create wealth over time.
Right. That's exactly what we're looking to do. And what he was talking about, we won't get too detailed. He's talking about for a long, long time, people that had like a million or two in the bank, an 800 credit score, but their taxes they gave us, they wrote everything off, right? Like most entrepreneurs. There was, for maybe 8 years, there was no products for those people. So it kind of pushed them out. Now, with the non-QM he's talking about, which means it's not just like, the Fannie Freddie Mae products that we have, they are able to show just their 1099 and not the tax returns, or, a profit and loss statement. So that has opened it up to people to be able to leverage. Those people are able to leverage now, purchase property, whereas before they weren't really able to unless they were paying cash or some ridiculous amount of down payment to qualify, right? So I think that's
and that's very, very true, right? People that had a lot of money were making a lot of money. But let's talk about just middle America, right? Okay. What about in today's crazy world where everything is so expensive, and maybe
it's ridiculous.
Maybe people need 2 or 3 jobs, so they have their regular 9 to 5, that's a W-2, and that's not enough for them to qualify. So they have to go drive for Uber, or they have to do a gig to gig employment, different things they're legitimately bringing money. And with the current agency guidelines, a lot of these people won't qualify. But with the non-QM program offerings, because you can combine and look at things differently, they could potentially now be able to qualify, now potentially be able to refinance, be able to buy a home, be able to buy an investment property, where before they did not have that opportunity.
Right. And that's huge. Yeah. As I remember, a lot of people doing Uber. I had people coming in there showing me doing Uber and all that. There wasn't anything for them. And I remember sitting down with clients going, I know that this is a thing now. I know that there'll be eventually there'll be products and programs for this, but there just wasn't at the time. So that's amazing. Danny, to you, let's go back to you. Because what are the main products that you said that you switched kind of your whole perspective and kind of pivoted, right? It was like a pivot for you. And now you're going after non-QM. What products are the ones that are selling the most and helping the most clients for you right now?
It would be bank statement program and DSCR, which stands for debt service coverage ratio for investors only. I think those 2 programs are huge. I'm giving loans to barbers where we're looking at the squares or the cells or Apple Pay deposits, where before it was like, no way, you're not gonna get a deal.
Uh-huh.
So just to Jerry's point, is like now there's more opportunity. Yeah, these people, they want to buy, they want to become a homeowner, but it has never been given an opportunity or even the knowledge, because there's a lot of people out there that still don't know about these products. And how are we gonna know? Again, by educating our realtor partners, or put webinars like this together to show the consumer that, hey, you can become a homeowner by showing bank statements or by showing your 1099, right? Or investors, you know what, you're super rich in equity, but very poor in assets. Let's pull money out so you can be ready to invest on an opportunity that is gonna come around, right? And there's no income documentation needed. That's the
What,
DSCR program.
sorry to interrupt you, but I was wondering too, and what loan to value can you do on something like that?
On the bank statement program for some home buyer, you can go up to 90%, so 10% down. On the
What-
debt to income ratio, you can go 20% down for an investment.
And what about cash out on like owner occ? Like what's the max? Do we have any products for that?
80% on cash out on bank statement program.
That's great.
Yeah,
Great to
who's
know.
gonna lend you 10, 20, who's gonna lend you 80% without showing any verification of employment? But we'll look at their bank statements or different type of documentation to do it. So there is a lot of programs out there to become a homeowner, definitely. It's just about getting educated or getting our partners educated to be able to talk to their clients, right? Instead of, before the mindset of the realtor was like, oh, you don't claim enough taxes, like you're wasting my time, right? But now it's like, hey, now you're my client. Now let's talk, right? Because now there might be an opportunity for you to qualify in a different way. And just getting our agents somehow put a chip and say, now this guy is going to be a possible buyer. Don't let him go. Send him to me. I'll put it together.
That's great. That's great.
Tamara,
And-
I'll give you a quick example, just
Great.
because it's important for people to be able to grasp. The average, call it real estate professional, the average insurance person, people in
Mhm.
network marketing, they all get paid 1099, right?
Mhm.
You know the guidelines for agency business, you know the guidelines for a jumbo business is what? You have a 1099, great. You need to provide me 2 years of tax returns, right? So
Mhm.
someone makes 100 grand, their adjusted gross income is 30 or 40 or 50, and that most of the time knocks them out from the ability to finance a property.
Right.
We have a 1099 program where and we verify it, right? We verify the 1099 income to make sure it's real. But let's just say someone earned $100,000. We're only going to take a 10% expense ratio. So now we're going to give them $90,000 a year to be able to, as purchasing power. Right. So that's an
Wow.
example where a lot of people that traditionally don't have the ability to finance are now being able to buy a property, or being able to cash out and buy an investment property, or buy a debt service coverage ratio property. One of our originators, Mark Preston here.
I know Mark.
Yeah, I was so happy. He did a loan for a gentleman. It's a single dad that wanted to buy, I believe, in Tustin for the school district, because wherever he lived, I guess, was not a very good school district for his 2 kids.
Mhm.
This guy was making over $10,000 a month driving Uber, which
Wow.
I didn't
That guy
realize.
was sleeping at the airport at 4 a.m. The good dad.
I didn't realize people made that much money in.
Yeah, they can, but it's hard. Yeah.
That it's available. Well, again, in traditional financing, he was turned down. We were able, Mark did a great job, and the guy had money to be able to put down as a down payment. And he was able to finance his property and move his family, his 2 kids, into the right school district. Right. So it's amazing when you
That makes me feel good. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're having the ability to affect people in a positive way, right? It's not only so those kind of things. And I think since then we've done 2 or 3 more very similar situations. So we get to help a lot of people realize their dreams, whatever that may be for them.
That's the best thing about our job, right?
That's right.
That's why we go through this and suffer. That, I mean, that's why I did it. That warms my heart too, because think about that. You got that guy in. So now, let's say 5 years now, he can leverage and he can start to build wealth and have passive income if you can apply these concepts. I'm trying to, help people understand. So I'm so happy.
Think about the peace of mind where all of a sudden now he feels that his kids are in the environment
I know,
to be, as opposed to maybe in an environment he didn't deem was safe enough for his kids, right? So it's the effect of that one transaction.
right? The ripple effect. The ripple effect. It's huge. in everything that we do. And so that's why we're going to get into mindset right now. Okay, guys. So we've talked a lot about mindset, and the people that have been watching, the people who will be tuning in after, they're probably like, why is she spending so much time talking about this? Because it's everything. That's why. Because without the mindset, I can give you all this, but if you don't have the mindset to apply it, or you're not keeping positive, like Gerry, speaking to earlier, then it doesn't even matter. I can tell you all kinds of facts and what to do, but the mindset is so important, and limiting beliefs. So for you, Danny, how important is mindset, and what have you done that you can really remember to eliminate limiting beliefs so you could push through and achieve at your highest level? And how do you keep positive?
First off, I have not watched TV probably for the past 10 years or even longer. I don't watch TV unless I'm sitting with my kid watching a movie from Disney or stuff. Or right now the World Cup, that's it. But like literally, there's so much negativity out there on the media that is crazy. And yeah, no wonder some people think like that, right? And it's just I have this app called Mindset. I think you guys seen it, where you get videos. It's called Mindset. The app.
Okay, it's an app. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the chat.
Yeah. Mindset, and literally you get videos daily or weekly, and some of them are short, 5 minutes, 9 minutes, and just the fact that you get your day started by listening to this, it's just like it's great. It gets you in a different mood. I'm not a big book reader. I like listening more, but definitely it changed the way of you see things or the way you start your day. And another thing, I mean, talking to people that think the same way, right? It's crazy how you see a lot of agents that are just in the business for 6 months to a year that are doing a lot better than people that have been in the industry for 20. And why is that? Because they're thinking positive. They're just doing the right thing. They're not listening to all the BS that is going on.
They haven't been beat down, Danny. They haven't been beat down yet. Just kidding.
No, but imagine if they're doing great on this market, how great are they gonna do in
right.
the market charts, right? So
that's
what I'm like. Hey, I always go after new agents. I love new agents, right? And I know that I'm not gonna get nothing for probably on the first 30, 60, 90 days. I'm okay. But guess what? Nobody's paying attention to them. Nobody's talking to them because they're all going after the guys that are making money, right? Right now, like, let me give you value. Let me educate you. Let me show you everything I have so I can help your business, right? So yeah, Mindset, that app is incredible. I think that's, and not only that, if I'm on Instagram, because I'm on Instagram a lot, but I have a lot of the memes, not the quotes. I do a lot of the quotes. There's another app called Quotes, Daily Quotes, that on my phone, there's a quote appearing on my phone every 10, 15, 20 minutes. So if I look at my phone, I'm like, that quote, and it's just like,
it's kind of keeping you in that higher elevated
right?
mindset. Yes.
Yeah.
You're not feeding yourself negativity.
Yeah.
And we talked about also the top 5 people that we hang out with, right? Diet, exercise, I think is really important, because I know Gerry, you're always doing new diets, and since I've known you, really, you've always been really health conscious. I don't know, didn't your wife and you lose a bunch of weight? You guys were in some commercial or something. So at one point,
No,
I remember that.
Well, we did a 12-week fitness challenge. And,
yeah. Yeah, but it does when I've done those cleanses. I'm always that girl, right? Someone was like, I'm gonna lose a bunch of weight, so I'll do these cleanses. But when I cut out I can tell you one thing: when I cut out the processed sugar, when I cut out the white flour, when you cut out the alcohol, when you cut all that out, my mind is so much more alert, right? So much more agile, and that's what we need right now. I think you'll both agree. Right now, you need to be feeling as good as possible, because during trying times, it's easy to get down, right? So you gotta do everything you possibly can to put the stops in place, not to get down. So, all right, I'm gonna do rapid fire questions. We'll start with you, Gerry, and then the same question to you, Danny. These are just rapid fire for a minute. What time do you wake up, Gerry, in the morning?
6:15.
Okay, you, Danny?
About 6 or 5.
6?
I get up at 5:55.
I get 5:54.
Okay.
This is the way it was. This is the way it's been for 24 years, people. Nothing's changed. Okay, Gerry, what's your morning routine? Like when you wake up, do you have a routine in the morning? Like, do you have a ritual?
So yes, well, I try to work out 4 to 5 days a week in the morning,
Okay.
first day. So, I mean, I literally get up, drag myself to brush my teeth, put some water in my hair and go work out for 45 minutes, to an hour.
Okay.
I'm doing my best. And this is something I learned from a podcast from a guy that I follow named Ed Milet, to not touch my phone for the first 30 minutes. So if I touch it, it's just when I'm at the gym to be able to, to use it as music, right? But besides that, I am trying to do, I do about 4 to 5 days a week. I do intermittent fasting. So my routine is just to wake up, go to the gym, come back, shower, and head to the office. That's it.
Awesome. And do you eat breakfast?
No, I try to intermittent fasting. So I try to stop eating at 8 o'clock at night, and then try not to eat anything till noon the next day. Just water and black coffee or tea.
All right. All righty. And what about you? What's your morning routine, Mr. Carrillo?
I started this boot camp, which it's not fun to go, but I think it's like you're gonna go to the gym and you're gonna have a good day, right? So I try to do that in the morning, come back, shower, take the kid, my son to school, and then be at the office right after. I don't need breakfast. I have coffee in the morning, and probably about noon I'll be having
Do the same thing.
lunch.
Yeah, Danny, you've lost a lot of weight since we've known each other too. So I got to follow your all's lead. And Gerry, what are your office hours? Like, what do you normally, what's your typical work day like from what to what?
Usually in the office by 8:30 in the morning. The day varies. Sometimes I work through till whatever the job's done. Sometimes, I think one of the things in our business is, and I maybe could do a little bit better, but it's really, we don't have fixed hours. Whether I'm physically sitting in the office or not doesn't really determine whether I'm working or not, right? So I might go home at, call it 4 o'clock one day to be able to do something, but then you're back on, whether it's on the computer, on the phone, whatever, for a little bit. So I don't have like set hours because of that, but I think that's just the nature of our business. The one thing that I have changed tremendously is we try to have, I have 3 daughters, and we try to have family dinner as much as possible. It makes it a little bit challenging with sports. But whether it's with my wife, by myself, or when the kids are at home and we have dinner, phones are off the table. We just don't, because if not, you don't enjoy that time. And I think it's very important to create that time and to work super hard, but also be able to disconnect and spend time with the ones that you love.
Yeah. So the thing that I had learned also was I was like 7, there was no office hours for me. So it was, all day, every day until whatever time. So to your point, Gerry, yeah, we don't really have office hours, but what I definitely want to say that I'm trying to do different now than I did before is those moments, taking the phone off the table, spending that quality time without interruption, because previously that wasn't something I did. If I was in the middle of the dinner table, I was like that girl that I don't care what time you called me. I don't care what I was doing. I was answering my phone. So I think that you do need some balance. And Danny, can you answer that question? What are your office hours?
I'm at the office literally at 8:15, and I'll be leaving home around 5:30 to 6 p.m. And the same thing, I was before I was answering every single phone call at 8, 9 p.m. But the minute that you answer that phone call at 9 p.m., especially for agents, you're ready to answer every single phone call at 9. So nothing is gonna burn in fire if you answer the next morning, and also give them tools, right? So they can have access to your system in a way to be able to print like the pre-approval letters. We have a system where if I issue a pre-approval letter and they need a pre-approval for less amount or with an address, they'll literally have a link and they can print it themselves. And usually that's what the realtors call you for, right? Like, hey, I need a pre-approval. I'm going to submit an offer on a Saturday night, and you're with the family, and they can do it right up from their phone. So give them access to tools that you have to be able to be very proactive, and yeah, I mean you'll be available from in the morning pretty much.
Okay, great. And our last question, then we're gonna get to my next guest. Pets. Do you have any pets, Gerry? Do you remember when I did the pet adoption day at Barrington?
I do remember that.
Okay, I have to tell this story really quick. I could not do this interview without mentioning this. So Gerry and I are at the same mortgage company. We're in our early 30s, okay? And we had moved to this big building, and he had a sales team. I had a little sales team, but they took I don't know why, but they took one of the cubicles. We had to walk down his hallway to get to ops, right? So they didn't want us walking down their hallway to ops. So they took one of the cubicles and took one of the walls off the cubicle and then put it in front of the hallway. So me and my team would have to walk all the way around the entire building to get to ops to walk down his hallway. So I started on a hit job because I wanted that to come down, right? So every night, whenever anybody would leave, me and my girls would think about things that we could do to harass Gerry and his group. So we did a pet adoption day one day, and we put it all over the office. And we're like, pet adoption day. We had Gerry, and then we put like for every single guy on his team, we'd be like, really happy, gets nervous and pees a little, humps legs, like whatever it was in their race. And we put the pet adoption day in every area. Then we did we had little signs that said, if Berlin can do it, so can Barrington. Bring down the wall. And I harassed him to the point where the owners finally called me in the office, like, all right, stop it. I go, but it was fun.
That's funny.
Do you remember that? That's why he loves me so much. Do you have any pets? What are their names, Gerry?
I do. Her name is Zoe, and she's an English lab.
Awesome. And what about you, Danny?
I have a golden doodle. Her name is Penny, and I have her name is Lola. She's the oldest. And I lost it. Lady on the Trump. What is this?
Lady in the Trump. I don't know. I haven't watched that in a while. Lady, isn't she named Lady? Isn't she Lady? Oh, that kind of dog, you mean?
Yeah, the type of dog. I totally lost it.
Okay. All right. Awesome, guys. I so appreciate your time. That was a lot of fun. Good seeing both of you. Thank you, and I will see you again soon. All right.
Tam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having us.
I'll see you. Bye.